wrap up this show, we each are bringing back the Darlings rendition of the 2023 season. And we've each picked two teams this year. Last year, do you guys remember who your Darling picks were? Because we did three last year. We're trimming it down to two this year. And I know Garrett remembers the Duke pick. That was obviously the most successful of the season. Trey.
You say that. Kansas State was my middle pick. They won their conference.
Oh, that's true. That's
Garrett
true.
dominated last year.
And so
Garrett
did Utah. Utah won that too. They didn't get where I thought they'd go, but Utah did win their conference. So
yeah, Garrett dominated the Darling game. Trey, you were on Washington State, Texas Tech, and I've forgotten who your third team was.
I think you were on Texas Tech. I was on Minnesota.
Oh, my bad. Yeah,
I was on Minnesota really big, and my third
Still
team
rowing
was
the boat.
my third team was another Texas team that we will not mention because of how their season finished last year.
Because they did not get to their over/under. Anyway,
they did not get to a bowl game. If you can't figure out who I'm talking about, look it up.
They wear maroon and white. So it was a popular segment last year. We brought it back. We're just going to do two teams this year, easier to keep track of, and I think a little bit more succinct in our explanation. So Garrett, you dominated last year. Take me to your two darlings. Who do you have exceeding the over-unders and maybe going on to a conference championship game, maybe going on to threaten, for all kinds of accolades?
Well, so my two darlings, they both have a current over-under at 7.5, and I think there's going to be no issue meeting those. These two teams could actually meet up in their conference championship game. This won't happen. They will not meet up in their conference championship game. It could. There's a theoretical possibility. Day zero of the season, it could happen. It won't happen. I'm telling you that right now. It's not going to happen. I'm talking about Maryland and Iowa. Okay, so if you listen to our previews, you know that I am high on the Maryland Terrapins. I'm very high on Taulia Tagovailoa and what he can do. I think he's the best quarterback in the Big Ten right now as we go into the season. That might change as, other quarterbacks end up, playing more games, getting more reps. But as we go into the season, I think he's the best quarterback currently in the Big Ten. They have a surprisingly good run game with Roman Hemby leading the way. I think he's kind of a under-the-radar star that could be looking to break out. And they got some really good options in the receiving game as well. I'm thinking Chambers, the transfer that came in, he's a real dynamic player. He's going to be fantastic for them as well. And a surprisingly good, I think, defense, not necessarily an elite unit, but I think they can finish kind of middle of the pack against some really good Big Ten offenses. If they can do that, I projected them at 10 wins. They're going to knock off one of Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State. You can take that one to the bank. And so I'm going to go ahead and pick Maryland for 7.5, and then Iowa as well, 7.5 wins. I've been maybe a little bit harder on Iowa in the past, but look, at the end of the day, I love what they're doing. They've got one of the best defenses in the country. That shouldn't change. And look, when your offensive coordinator is being threatened by a point number, you have to think he hits it, right? You have to think that some way they're going to find a way. When you have an experienced quarterback like Cade McNamara, you should be all right too. So I'm thinking experience at quarterback, should make some good decisions, should at least be able to deliver an accurate ball every now and then. Give me Iowa to beat the 7.5 as well. Those are my two darlings. I'm going to rock out in the Big Ten this year.
All right. I'll jump in here with mine as we keep it going. I've got a 7.5 and I've got a 6.5. And if you are a fan of this show, you're not going to be surprised by either of these. First up, let's go with the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Over-under at 7.5. I am really, really excited about what's going to go down on the Plains this year. I think, guys, Tyler Shuck is really slept on as a quarterback in this conference. I think the more and more I look at just how much of his season last year was affected by health, and when he was healthy, what he was able to do on the field, that stretch run last year, their 4-game win streak, he was finally on the field and finally fully healthy. And they took care of business, beating Kansas, Iowa State, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss in the bowl game. And a couple of those, they weren't struggling to put up points in any of those contests. So I am, really excited to see. I feel like Joey Mack is quietly very confident about his defense this year, even after losing Tyree Wilson. So that makes me really, really excited to see what he can put on the field there this fall. And we know the offense is going to be electric, right? We know they're going to put up a bunch of points. If the defense can just take a small step forward and Tyler Shutt can stay healthy, guys, they're not only going to smash this 7.5 over under. I think that game on Black Friday in Austin is going to be for a spot in Arlington. I think that's how the season is going to play out in the Big 12. Over on the Atlantic Coast, I'm taking a page from Garrett's book last year because it worked so well. I'm going with the Duke Blue Devils.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow, some way, with everything that they proved last year, with a fantastic coach in Mike Elko, with a fantastic quarterback in Riley Leonard, and a defense that I think is going to step up and improve this year, they have a 6.5 Vegas over-under. So I don't know if Vegas just already has the script for this year and Duke is just going to have a rash of injuries and they're going to take everybody's money with this, but this just seems like a screaming take to me. Duke's going to threaten for the conference title. I don't think they'll be anywhere near scratching for bowl eligibility this year in year 2 under Mike Elko.
I like it. That line, honestly, the line for both of those teams kind of smells a little funny. It's certainly made me scratch my head. I was going to take Texas Tech and then realized, well, let one of you guys take it. You haven't gone to Arlington, right? For a spot in the Big 12 championship game. I did not. So I love the Texas Tech pick. I also think Duke, we've got, teammates, Liam from Transfer Portal and No Context College Football, he's picking Duke to make the ACC championship game. So a lot of folks are high on the Blue Devils.
I think Garrett did too.
I thought the same, yeah. I got Duke in the championship game against Florida State.
Yeah. So, Duke at 6.5 doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So I love that pick. I am going to go with two teams that I'm not quite as high on as you guys are, might be on, Iowa or Tech or Duke. I still think these teams can smash the over on their win total. Give me Kentucky and Oklahoma State. Both of these teams should have really electric offenses. For Kentucky, Devin Leary transfers in from NC State. They get their offensive coordinator back from the Rams. So the offensive power, the power from the offense should come through an electric passing game. The running game should be fine as well. What I'm concerned about is the offensive line. And I think the offense offensive line combined with a tough schedule is certainly reason to be a little hesitant with Kentucky. But if you're lower on South Carolina, like I am, if you think that Tennessee is not bulletproof, that Joe Milton is not necessarily going to waltz in and win 11 games, then someone's got to fill that vacuum, right, between Georgia and the second or third spot. And you're starting to see Kentucky get a lot of those picks. I love what the defense, I think, is going to field. And I think the offense is going to be a ton of fun. They always have a strong defense under Mark Stoops, right? So even if that is just average Kentucky defense, you give me Devin Leary putting up 35, 40 points a game, and Kentucky's going to be really, really hard to knock off. I think 6.5 is a little low for the Wildcats. With Oklahoma State, much of the same, right? If Alan Bowman can be freshman Alan Bowman that he was in 2018 at Texas Tech, Oklahoma State is going to be a player for a trip to Arlington. Now, if he's not healthy, Oklahoma State may struggle to make a bowl game. But I'm going to choose to believe optimistically that Oklahoma State is talented enough and they're explosive enough to not only win 6.5 games, 6-7 games, but cruise by that comfortably. I think I have them more in the 8 to 9 range. So 6.5, far too low for me on the Pokes. Give me the Wildcats. Give me Oklahoma State to wrap out my Ledger picks. We'll obviously be watching how all of these teams do. Please comment. Let us know who your and I said Ledger, our darling picks. Let us know who your darlings are for the 2023 season. Why you've got them far exceeding what Vegas is predicting.
Gracious, how about that?